Again, if you can hear the presenter, raise your hand.
Oh, there's some. All right, I see some hands. I'm going to go ahead and put those down.
Okay.
Oh, there was more. A bunch of hands. All right, looks like they can hear us, Kim.
Okay, and Dr. Taylor, if you would monitor the questions bar for us just to make sure we don't have, so that we can assist anyone experiencing issues. And Delia Payne is also on the line, monitoring the questions bar to assist with technical difficulties. Again, welcome to the webinar today. As you see, just a little bit of webinar housekeeping. We've asked you to raise your hand if you could hear the presenter. Can you see the presenter screen? If you have questions throughout the webinar, there is a questions category. And there are no documents on this subject that can be found within our webinar today, but that is at other webinars you may find that there are handouts and attachments that are there for you. And we have the chat, and we will keep that open as well. Next slide. So again, good afternoon. My name is Kimberly Simmons, and I am the North Carolina Educator Evaluation System Coordinator. And on the screen, you see my contact information here. Please don't hesitate to reach out for any support regarding NCEES, and I will try to assist you or put you in contact with the correct person, and that correct person may be Cammie Nairn, who is joining me today. Cammie is going to be leading a lot of the webinar because we want to help you get started on the right foot as we begin the 2017-18 school year in NCEES and in TNL. And you see Cammie's contact information there. So thanks, Cammie, for joining me today.
Well, I'm glad to be here, and thank you to everybody out there. I am a new person up here. I've been with DPI for a couple of years now, but new to the TNL group. So I've learned a lot and appreciate a lot. And so just I hope we can answer a lot of your questions today, and we have a good time with the webinar today.
Thank you. So our GoToWebinar norms. To get started, we ask that you minimize your outside distractions, be attentive, and participate. Notify the presenter if you are having technical difficulties by raising your hand and using the questions bar on your dashboard to ask any questions you have. Our outcomes for today's webinar, we will cover how to access the NCEES. We will review the teacher evaluation process, confirming staff list and plan types, review assigning rights. We'll take a look at the principal evaluation process and beginning the principal evaluation. So Cammie, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, give me 1 second. I'm going to answer the question. Let me send that out. All right, so we're going to talk about accessing the NCEES system. For most of you, everybody should be opted in for the most part to our NCEES Cloud or IAM. There are a few districts that are probably still opted out, but most of you would access NCEES, or True North Logic is the icon you're going to see, and we'll see that in just a second. So on the screen, you'll see the login page for NCEES Cloud. And up here is where you will put your username and password and then click Go. Most of you should have already claimed your account, so you could just sign in. And then when you get to your page after you log in, you'll see the little icons at the bottom. Depending on what access you need, it depends on what icons you see. And the True North Logic icon is the little green circle or compass looking circle. So you would click on the True North Logic circle to access NCEES. It doesn't say NCEES on there, it says True North Logic. And there's just a little graphic there if you want to know what some of those other icons you see are. So today we're actually going to talk about signing in as a principal or an assistant principal. You're both admins. And this is what a principal landing page would look at once you've clicked on that True North Logic icon. If you look in the top right, you're going to see the word hello, and you'll see NCDPI, or for me, I'm seeing NCDPI 09 principal because I have a training account open. But you would see your name in there. And this is just what you see at the beginning page. And across the top, this is a new interface as far as color-wise. If you've been with us for a while, you had the old green and orange. Well, now we've got the ones like the gray and the black and the blue. It does make it a little bit easier to navigate. So you'll see the different navigation links across the top of the page, and we'll talk about some of those today. If you were to click on the Help Guides link right here in the middle, this is where we're going to try to keep, and I will let you know that some of these links are broken, but some of them are still good. We are currently working on getting some updates to the screenshots since our interface has changed. We need to update these documents, but they will be posted within the next couple weeks. This is a good place for you to go if you don't know how to do something. This is North Carolina information. So this is where you will get your North Carolina guides, to quick guides, user interface, starting an evaluation plan, beginning your self-assessment, training and orientation step that everybody has to do. So that's where you would see those. There are also evaluation guides. And then PDP guides would come here for the professional development plan. And then there's some additional guides if you have a higher admin access down below. There's also a question mark up here in the top right. That actually goes to True North Logic help guides. And those are out of the box help guides. So you can go out there and look at those, but do know that the ones you see on this page are made for North Carolina. The teacher evaluation process. So principals, this goes over to Kim.
Okay. Yes, this is the teacher evaluation process, and here we have included all 4 steps. But today, for our webinar, we'll just be focusing on step 1 and step 2. Next slide. So as we take a look at step 1, this is just going to be an overview for most of you, because if you're a new principal, you knew this process from the teacher's perspective. And if as a master principal, if you will, or assistant principal, you're familiar with this process on both sides of the spectrum. But component 1, training, before participating in the evaluation process, we know that everyone has to be trained in the evaluation process. And for component 2, we have an orientation, which we have every year. Within the first 2 weeks of teacher's first day, the principal will provide the rubric, the teacher evaluation policy, and a schedule for completing evaluation process. Now, all of these things are within the system, except for C, a schedule for completing the evaluation process. And that is up to the principal to decide. A lot of times, it's a collaborative effort from your LEA or your charter office. You make the decision. They give you a framework for when they would like the evaluations completed, and sometimes the decision's left up to the principal. But you do want to provide some type of framework for when you will be observing teachers in their classroom. You may want to give the date of October 1st. You will have completed the first round of observations. We know those are scheduled, and then as the year continues, you'll periodically give those dates where they can expect to have the observations completed. And a lot of principals also like to give a time frame for the summative evaluation. Next slide. As we move to component 3, which is the teacher self-assessment, we know using the rubric located in the online tool, the teacher shall rate their performance and reflect on his or her performance throughout the year. And you really want to encourage a teacher not just to copy what they checked last year. not to just print it out and put in the same data, but you really want a teacher to self-assess and look at the progress and the growth that they made the last year and make sure that that's well documented in their New Year's teacher self-assessment. And then moving to component 4, we have the pre-observation conference. Before the first formal observation, the principal meets with the teacher to discuss the self-assessment, the professional growth plan, and a written description of the lessons to be observed. The goal for this pre-observation conference is to prepare the principal for the observation. But I really want us to focus in on the professional growth plan here. This is sometimes an overlooked tool for principals to really take an approach to the professional growth plan, the PDP, from the school improvement perspective. You want to make sure, if you can, that your school improvement goals are aligned with the goals that your teachers have for their growth plan. This is a one-pager, and I'll put the link to this in the in the chat screen. This is a one-pager that we provide on the NCEES Wiki, just for you to have for reference.
Whoops, sorry about that, hang on. All right, can you still see my screen?
Thank you. So here we have an opportunity to look at the different types of professional development plans. We have the individual growth plan, the monitored growth plan, and the directed growth plan. PDPs should serve as a roadmap for teacher growth. They may include individual goals, school goals, again, there's a reference to the school improvement plan, and district goals. We encourage you to align the teacher PDPs with your school improvement plan. This alignment will strengthen and streamline all of your improvement conversations. Okay. Here we have another one-pager, and we'll put a link in the chat as well for this one, but this just gives you a clear outline based on the evaluation cycle type for the comprehensive evaluation cycle, all of the components of the evaluation process that's included. For the standard evaluation cycle, again, all of the components are documented there for you, and for the abbreviated evaluation cycle. And again, we'll put the link to this in the chat bar. And I think I covered that slide already with the different types of professional development plans. Here is just another visual for us to take a look at, where we can look at the differences between the individual PDP, the monitored PDP, and the directed PDP. A lot of confusion or misconception may be that the directed PDP is an action plan, and the directed PDP is not an action plan. That is a local decision made by your school board. Your action plans are. Now, they may include or may be considered an action plan, but that would need to be a policy passed by your school board. But let's take a look at the individual PDP. This is for the teacher that's rated proficient or higher on all standards. This individual PDP, the teacher sets their individual goals for the growth. An administrator and the teacher meet to discuss the PDP 3 times at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year. For the monitored PDP, this is for the teacher that is rated developing on 1 or more standards. It's not recommended for dismissal, demotion, or non-renewal. Again, it's not an action plan, but the administrator and the teacher meet to discuss and set goals together. They meet collaboratively at least 3 times a year at the beginning, middle, and end to review progress. And then the directed PDP, this is for the teacher that has been rated not demonstrated on any standard or rated developing on 1 or more standards for 2 consecutive years. Again, this plan is not recommended for dismissal, demotion, or non-renewal, and the administrator sets the goals for the teacher within the directed PDP based on observations and documentation, and meets with the teacher to review the development plan. They will meet at least 3 times a year. And again, it's the beginning, middle, and end.
Okay, I think it comes back to me.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about confirming your staff list and the plan types that you've assigned to them. Most of you have probably completed this steps, but we're going to look at this. So as a principal, in the top links across the bar, depending on the size of your screen, you may have like a little drop-down arrow to see this button, but you need to click on the My Staff. And that brings you to the staff detail page. And you would be, of course, in your site location here. You would be on the button called Staff Management. And you should see below that a list of all the staff associated to your school that you are currently looking at. So you can change schools by the location up here. So if you're just over one school, then you probably only have access to that one school. So as you come down below, you would look at your staff and just confirm that these are all your staff members. Now, occasionally you may see some of these instructional teacher twos or True North administrators. Those are for DPI to use, just leave those alone. But you should technically just see your staff and what position that they're holding. And over here is where you set the teacher plan type. I'm going to click to the next slide. Whoops. Get a little happy. All right, so the teacher plan type is the middle column right here. And this year, for the first time, these were all set to not selected. That meant that as a principal, you would need to know what plan needed to be set for your teachers and for your staff that you're going to set a teacher plan type for. Either that or a designated employee would need to set this. The PDP type came over as individual. So that was set to happen at the end of year and come over into the beginning of year as individual. And then ASW, the legislature discontinued that this year. We are still going to see a column here, but all of those should be set to not applicable. So what happens if you're missing staff from that list? First, you should troubleshoot why you're missing that staff. And then I just gave you a list here of things you could go through and look at. So is the staff member updated on your district, HRMS, the link, or other payroll vendor spreadsheet? And there's also some data elements that need to be uploaded to HR. So in those documents, if you need access to those, you can email me those and I can send you those. Or I can put the link, well, I don't know if I have a link for them, in the chat bar. Probably email me and I can get you these. So if you have HR, the data elements here, it tells you what headings need to be uploaded to HR. For charter schools, we have one specific for charter schools. And this one does need a username and password. If you don't know what that is, you would put in a Remedy Support Desk ticket and they can look that up for you. And then for non-HRMS, such as Link or other payroll vendors, there's a PDF for those data elements. So this has to be uploaded and your staff has to be uploaded in UID, which is B here, LEA and charters. Have you uploaded to UID all your current staff that are actively working for you this year, 17-18? So many do call UID CEDARS. When you talk to your finance or payroll, they may call it CEDARS because that's the name they see in the URL. It is actually called Staff UID. And when you put your remedy tickets into the support desk, they call it UID. So they do know that sometimes people call it CEDARS, but we're trying to educate everybody that it is the UID site. And in the UID site, your staff has to have a recognized salary, object code, or purpose code. And these are additional documents that I can get you. I do have a PDF called NCEES Data version 3. And it tells all the salary object codes, and your finance department knows what those are, that NCEES recognizes. So they have to have a certain object code for them to show up in NCEES. And some of those are paired with purpose codes, but you can see that on that list. Then the next thing in UID, in C here, when they uploaded the spreadsheet to UID, is the staff showing as active? Yes. for your school or active no. They should only show active yes at either the LEA level or the school level, depending on how you have that staff in your system. And I've got to move something out of the way, just a minute. All right. Okay. All right, so then if needed, if you've gone through all of this and still can't figure out why your staff is not showing up in NCEES, once you've updated those updates, do give it an overnight process time. It does take overnight for you to update it and then show up in NCEES the next day. If you've done all that and still not showing up in NCEES, please put in a remedy support ticket. You should have a designated personnel to do that. Now, to set the evaluation plans for those teachers, remember I told you the teacher plan type was in the middle section, and this must be the principal or the designated admin person to set those. And there's that, again, that important, that number 3, important. You must wait overnight for these to process through too. So this is another overnight process. Once you set the plan, it's not going to show up on that staff person until the next day. What if somebody set the wrong plan over there on the side? If there's no data in the wrong plan, then you can go into the plan, and there is a delete button. I don't go into it here, but you can delete the plan. If they've already started their orientation and maybe some observations, and you realize it's the wrong plan, best practice would be to archive that plan and then start the new plan. And then again, you're gonna have to give it overnight for the new plan to show up. And then you could either copy and paste or retype the observation, the orientations that had already been done on the wrong plan. It does not come over. You're gonna have to retype it in. All right, do we have any questions so far?
Hello, we do have a question. Go ahead, Mandy.
Go ahead, Kent.
If a teacher transferred into your school under a directed plan, what happens? Now, I know from my side of things, that is a local decision, but does the tool respond a particular way, or how does the tool react to that?
They're coming from a different district. I think that plan is then either deactivated or had been archived. It's usually deactivated, and you would start your own either late hire, depends on when they came to your system.
What if it was from within the district, but from a different school? I think that's how I interpreted the question, but I'm glad you answered it from outside the district as well.
That, if they're changing schools, that one I would have to research and find out.
Okay. I feel confident that you would continue with the same plan. You would have an option of changing it, but that it would continue as the same plan.
Yeah, and I still think somebody else was the evaluator and all that. I don't think it stays with you. I still think it gets inactivated. But let me find out.
Well, that's a great question for us to include in our follow-up email.
Yes.
Okay.
Great. Note of that.
And thank you for asking the question. So do we have other questions, Mandy or Delia?
Yes, we do have a few more questions. We have an assistant principal on the line who is not able to see the My Staff tab. Do you know what are some possible reasons or a way that she could address that situation?
Does she have staff assigned to her that she's going to evaluate? That part may not have been done yet.
Okay.
She doesn't My staff at all.
So your local TNL lead for your district or charter is who you would need to contact.
Right.
Okay. Okay. We have a question about PDPs. If I have a curriculum coordinator, what PDP plan would I set for them? They aren't a principal or an assistant principal, and they're not a teacher. So just some feedback about what would be an appropriate PDP for someone in that role.
What was the role again, Mandy? I'm sorry.
Curriculum coordinator.
So it would depend on what evaluation tool you were using. That would determine what PDP plan that you would use.
Okay.
I would think it would be, I mean, I would choose, if they are a leader in your school and they're in that position, I would think that they would be on an individual PDP.
Okay.
Maybe a little more clarification on the question. I may not understand it.
Okay. We have a participant who does not see the True North Logic button on their My NC Ed Cloud.
So they may not have a salary object code in UID that allows them access to NCEES.
Okay, so again, would that be a local?
That'd be the local True North Logic lead or NCEES lead in their district.
Okay.
Or their site admin. They can start with them and they can go up the chain from there.
Excellent. Okay, and then we did have a request to review deleting, going over the deleting again. A counselor began her plan as a teacher, and she needs to delete that plan.
So the teacher plan type was set to one of the teacher ones?
Was set, let me go back and read that question again.
So if it was,
yes, she was a counselor and she began as a teacher, and so the teacher plan needs to be deleted so she can be put in as a counselor.
okay, so my understanding, when you log in, the district person, the site person can go into the plan, and there's a delete button in there, or they can archive it. If there is data in there, they've already made notes and filled out forms in there, then they should archive it. Let me see if I can pull one up.
Okay.
Just a second.
And it looks like we're getting quite a few questions that are coming in that are looking technical. So
So I don't know if we can get into a lot of the technical.
Right. So maybe if we can just work on getting some of those answers pulled into the to the questions bar so that everybody can see those answers as well, and make sure that we get all of them answered in our time that we have together and still are able to work through the webinar.
So if they're on this page, they can just change the plan here, and that will automatically inactivate the other plan. But if there's data in that plan, they need to actually go open the plan and either archive it or delete it.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we'll keep working on the questions in the chat bar.
Okay, and on the screen also is a list of the different types of plans you can set. So you can see they're all related to the comprehensive, the standard, the abbreviated, and the late hire. Some are for teachers, some are for principals, school counselor, and so on. Or if they don't get an evaluation at all, there is also the choice for no evaluation. This was new last year. Last year, the plans were automatically set by the system, and a lot of them did not set correctly. So principals had to go in and make sure that the plan type was set correctly. Then on top of that, they had the option to go and confirm that plan. This is gone. Everybody raise a hand and cheer. You no longer have to go in and confirm the evaluation plan type. Okay, the next step would be if you need to change the individual PDP type to monitored or directed, and Kim did talk to you about those. That would be in the drop-down next to teacher plan type is PDP type. Again, you must be in the correct location to see the staff that you want to see, and just go down and choose whichever one you need to. You can leave it on individual, or if they should not have a PDP for some reason, then there is a not selected. There has been an issue noted, like for counselors, that the PDP or psychologists, I think is our major one, had teacher rubrics in their PDP. That's because at some point when this was first set, it was, I guess, kind of set for teachers, or at some point that staff had instructional listed in their demographics. So there are 3 steps here, and I'll let you read over those, that districts have used to correct that issue. So if the teacher plan is correct, but the PDP rubric is not, you can actually go into the PDP and delete the assessment activity within the plan. And then the staff that owns that assessment can click the action button and choose delete. In the PDP, that would be the teacher, and in evaluations, it's the observer or the evaluator. Once this assessment is deleted, you can click Start New, and the new assessment should have the correct standard. All right. Option 2 was if the teacher plan is not correct, then on the other side where I showed you what to do if someone set the wrong plan, you're going to need to go in there and follow that first, and then delete the self-assessment that's incorrect for the teacher rubric and do the Start New. Again, some of these may take an overnight refresh to show up. Let me get here. All right. And then third, some people are just going in and taking both of these out if they're wrong, and then resetting the correct ones, leaving the PDP as not selected, letting the correct plan refresh overnight, and then setting the PDP. If you need any assistance with that, please put in a remedy support ticket. Get your designated person to put in a support ticket. I know a lot of folks on our Google group for TNL have been very helpful with each other completing these steps to get that corrected. All right, and the last column again, ASW has been discontinued by our legislature. So make sure that these all say not applicable. We were looking in there earlier, and there are still some teachers that have ASW type plans set here. Please correct those to be not applicable. Nobody should have that plan type. And I'm also asking TNL, so when we're talking about assigned rights later, to take the ASW out of that area too. Okay, so we're coming up on the assigned rights area. Do we have any other questions having to do with setting the plan type? All right, if no questions, we'll move forward. So the different types of rights that you could have are evaluator, observer, mentor, and peer observer. So again, the principal would be on the My Staff tab, and they would be off of the Staff Management button and click over here on this Administration Staff Management button. And this is where you're going to set the people that are going to be evaluating or mentoring other folks. So once you click on that tab, you can click on number 2 is where the administrator little window comes up, and you would just click Add, and you would come up with the Add Administrator window here, and you would search for them. And here I just search for teacher and for my training site names. Once I've searched for them, I scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page and I click search. And then when a search comes up, I found all my people with the name teacher. I choose the bullet for the person I want to add to my staff management administration. It will only allow you to click one bullet, so this is one at a time. Once I've bulleted the person I want to have, I click save, and then the next screen will give me a little finish button that I will need to click again. So I've clicked the finish button, and it brings up this window here. And this is where you're going to assign those rights. So these are numbered 1, 2 down, and come back up to 3, and then down to 4. So the first one, you're going to choose the site that this person is going to be the evaluator or mentor or peer observer for. So make sure you choose the correct site. Once you've chosen the site, you want to choose what plan are they going to be observing. So right here, there's a new link in here I've circled in yellow. It's called Include Archive Plans. Maybe some of you lead people that are listening have people at the county office, or maybe some lead site administrators or lead district people, or your superintendent needs to look at archive plans on staff. This is where you would check the box that gives them the rights to do that. So here's the drop down for which plan you need to use, and it's so it's any one of these. Here's that analysis of student ASW work. I'm going to ask them to remove those. So you can choose abbreviated, comprehensive, standard, etc. in that drop down. So right here I've chosen abbreviated, and then I need to choose the members that they are going to be evaluating or mentoring or observing. So they would just check the box for everybody that they will have rights over, and then choose what type of rights. Will they be an evaluator, an observer, a peer observer, a view-only person? The reopen admin, I think that goes with ASW. I am researching that one right now because I wasn't quite sure what that was. Stood for, unless you know, Kim. So, but all the others you can choose.
No, I do not.
Okay. So view only is good for the archive plans one. So if you want to, if a superintendent needs to see archive plans, I would give them view only. Any questions about assigning rights? Okay. All right, I'm going to turn it back over to Kim.
Thank you. So here you see a one-page outline of the principal evaluation process. This one-pager was developed for your convenience to see all 7 steps of the process and to identify optional forms and required documents. The key in the top right-hand corner identifies documents in red that are required, green for optional forms that can be used to support your evaluation process. The rest of the process typed in black is the required process as defined by the North Carolina State Board of Education. For today's webinar, let's look at step 1, orientation. The self-assessment is the only required document to be completed. However, the goal form and the process documentation form are highly recommended for the principal and assistant principal evaluation process. This document is located on the principal's page of the NCEES Wiki, and I will put a link to the wiki, and I've already put a link to this document in the chat bar. And I will put a link to the NCEES Wiki and a link to the principal's page on the NCEES Wiki as well.
Can I ask a question, Kim?
Yes.
So is there anything in here that opens up this summary evaluation? Because we were noticing that it has like not applicable on the screen, the checkoff screen where they get their little green checks for each area that they complete. Just wondering, does this open up with other steps that get completed?
No. No.
Okay. So not for the principal.
It does not.
Okay. So they're only
no, it doesn't. The principal evaluation process, it's kind of like for the teacher's evaluation process, you have to go through these different, it's kind of, you have to progress through these different steps. The principal's evaluation is more widely open.
Okay. That's why
there's not a progression of steps necessarily.
Right. Thank you for letting me ask the question. All right. Any questions for Kim? All right, so we're going to go back into the principal, and the principal has their own evaluation. So we're going to go back in the system here on the screen, and now we're going to go to the left, and we're going to click on the tab that says My Evaluation. Any tab you click on is going to turn blue so you know where you're at. So this principal has an evaluation here for the principal or assistant principal, and make sure you have the correct year, 2017-2018. And you would click Start Plan. Once you click Start Plan, it brings you to this next screenshot below, and it goes to the orientation, and it says it contains one activity. You click on that. That will bring up another little orientation container, and you click on the orientation container there. And it brings you up to the orientation for whichever principal you are. It would have your name there. And then it gives you a description of what it is. I'm sorry I have it covered up, but it is in this little box right here. You click the edit button, and it brings you up this window. And it gives you a spot to fill in the date that you received your orientation materials. So once you're done with that, you click the next button. I can't see it because of my screen. The next button down, and it brings you over to the principal or assistant principal evaluation process. And here it gives you a green check mark that you've done your orientation. If you click the back button after that, it will take you back to the orientation screen, and it'll be yellow. There'll be a yellow circle with a check mark. It means you've almost completed it. If you would look to the far right of that, there'll be a little button that will allow you to say mark complete. However, if you want to, if you've completed orientation, you can actually click this mark complete button, and then it will take you back to the orientation container and give you a green check mark. You finished your orientation. So then after that, you want to complete your next steps, and that is the pre-evaluation planning steps and your initial meeting with your evaluator, and you'll start beginning your data collection. There are detailed guides where we show you the help guides for each of those steps. Any questions about starting that plan for the principal or assistant principal? Okay. My computer just wants to click very fast. So that is all about the evaluation plans. Go ahead.
There's some questions that have come in before we move on to the professional development courses.
Okay.
Here's one. At my school, teachers work between various schools. Will they show on my staff in NCEES?
They should have a primary school. If they've been given rights to access NCEES with their salary object code, yes, and they'll probably have a list of each school, but one of those can be marked as primary, and that will be the one doing their evaluation.
So if the teacher is not assigned to my school, but they work at my school half a day, I do not complete the evaluation?
That's not, I don't think that's a question for me. I don't know about it. We'd have to ask what the policy is on that. I know that they mark one of the schools as primary, but I don't know how they divvy up the completion of that evaluation for the teacher.
I wonder if it could be within the assigned rights by the LEA lead.
Right.
If you have one marked.
How you do that cross school, so I don't know.
Okay. All right, that's a question for us too.
Yeah, come back with. That'll be a good one to answer at the next webinar on next Tuesday.
Okay. Mandy, other questions?
No. Okay. So we're ready.
Oh no, sorry.
There's more.
Sorry.
Okay.
If they're still waiting for NCEES to upload, it is okay to use paper copies of the PDP, but then that information would have to be transferred over once the staff was finished uploading. Is that correct?
They've just uploaded their staff and they're waiting for the overnight process. Yes, as far as I know, okay. You would go in and enter it in the system.
Okay. Thank you for that. And then, okay, and you've answered the question about the green checks. Okay.
Okay, I have one. For clarification, my media coordinator completed her self-assessment, but once done, she realized her self-assessment was the teacher rubric. Should we delete this assessment and let her start over?
That will be a local decision whether to keep that. I would, if you want to delete the assessment, you can. That's going to be a local decision. I would recommend
that. I would recommend they do, yes.
Yes.
From my perspective, yes. Delete it and start over.
Yep.
Using the
Yeah, the
counselor
assessment
rubric.
can't like really archive, so I would
Yeah.
print it out so I could enter it back in pretty much the same. Yeah. But it's probably a whole nother rubric, right?
Yeah. Mandy, do you have another?
I do. I have two questions that are asking, I think the same thing. One question is, when I choose the plan, I only have two choices: analysis of student work and PDP. And then the question right underneath that is a principal that does not have all the options under choose plan. He only has abbreviated evaluation and PDP. So two questions about not being able to see any more than two choices when clicking on choose plan.
That's probably going to be the rights that are set on those staff, and so I would put in a remedy ticket so that we can look at them. We need to look at them. I'm trying to find the screen.
Some people are asking about accessing the slides from today, and just a clarification, we will post everything from today, included a recorded webinar on the NCEES Wiki, and we'll show you that at the end of the presentation.
All right, and in your chat panel, on your webinar panel, there's a chat. There's a link to these slides, a view-only presentation of them. Just the slides now, the recording will be posted like Ken said. We'll post both. Okay, any other questions? All right. All right, so we're going to go into talking about assessing professional development courses. So this is where you can go take your courses to keep up to date with your professional development plans. And that is the link. I'm sorry, this screen's probably a little small for you, but professional development is one of the tabs across the top of the screen. And there's the professional development news, and that does get updated every so often, so go ahead and read over that. Here's the focus area for aligned courses, and it just gives you different focus areas that have courses listed. Here's a course search at the very top, and this is where you can search. There's an advanced search or show all courses. And here's another My Courses. So once you've selected courses, they'll show up in the My Courses section. All right. So if you were to go in the course search, so like you want to look for discipline or literacy or any subject that you want to look for, you can just type the words in there and click search. You can also open the advanced search, and it gives you more fields to type in what you're looking for. Maybe you just have a course number, or you have a course description you might be looking for. There's different areas that you can search in the advanced search bar. Once you've done your search, you're going to get your results on this, look like this on this page. And so here we found a course called Understanding the School's Role in Suicide Prevention. So this is a course that maybe I want to take. So I would click on the title of the course for the self-paced courses, and then it would add it to my course list, and then I could come in and click Start to start that course. I will give you one heads up. Currently, there's not going to be DPI instructor-led courses for a bit until we get some more staff or work that out. We're reorganizing the EE and the other transformation departments up here. They're combining, and we are reorganizing that. So currently, there will be no instructor-led courses from DPI. We will update you as we know that we can start adding those back, but there are plenty of self-paced courses that you can go search for. So here's again another screenshot of registering for the course, clicking the Start button. And then there's this detailed information. If you'll scroll down the page, it'll also show you the list of standards that are attached to this course so that you can meet the standards that you want to meet. So under my courses, you can, if you've already got some listed, that will show here. But if you want some learning opportunities, districts can assign courses to you to take or to possibly take. They can either say it's required, or they can say, hey, here's some courses you may want to take. And they would show under the learning opportunities. So you could come in here and look at the registered learning opportunities here. And you can add those by clicking on those. So it also lets you review any courses you are currently registered in, and then you can also check your transcript under My Transcript to see any completed courses and the CEUs that you might have earned to go along with those courses. So again, here's the information about the instructor-led EE courses. They are not scheduled to be offered in the near future. There is additional list of courses here at this website, and it is a clickable link. So rt3nc.org. Here are a couple self-paced EE courses. I found a couple that may be pertinent to your administrators, and there's a couple there that you can go look up and register for if you like. There are more, again, at the http://rt3nc.org. All right, and that's bringing us close to the close of our program for today. Are there any other questions?
Yes, just for clarification, I want to make sure this one is answered. How would I know if a teacher comes to my school under a directed plan? Is there, does the principal have access to a teacher's previous plan?
They do not. They do not.
Okay.
Yep. You should not even see the previous plans.
Okay. All right. So that answers the question. You would not know.
You would not know unless they told you.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
Where do you assign a mentor is a question that has come in.
Okay. Get this out of the way. So that's in the assigning rights. All right, so assigning rights, and the mentor is one of those types. And you would go into your My Staff, into Administration Management. You would click Add and search for that mentor that you want to add. So you would search for their name. Click Search. When you find them in the next screen, you click the bullet beside their name. And there's a button there to click to select them. And then you have to click the Finish button. And then you'll get the window that actually lets you assign those rights. So you would choose the site that they are overseeing. You would choose the plan that they will be a mentor for. Well, that's good because it's not in the list, is it? You would choose the member, and then here's the drop down. You're right, there's not a mentor in the drop down, is there? Let me find out about that. Evaluator, observer, peer observer, view only.
Good. That was a great question. That'll help us get in front of some issues.
Yeah. Yeah, but I would think this is where you would assign it. So let me check on that. Let us check on that. Thank you for the question. All right.
So another question would be, I am an AP and over NCEES for my school. My question is, when a teacher marks his or her PDP complete and gets a green check before double checking, how do you open it back up for him or her? Are they still, he or she still needs to add new, yet the button is not there?
All right. Do you mind reading that one more time?
Okay, I sure will. I am an AP and over NCEES for my school. My question is, when a teacher marks his or her PDP complete and gets a green check before double checking, in other words, they get a green check before they double checked it, I guess, how do you open it back up for him or her? He or she still needs to add new, yet the button is not there.
Because they've completed it, right?
So right. So can you go back in? I think is the question. And if you can, how would you do that?
Here's a principal. I don't know. I'm kind of got to be careful what I'm clicking on. Hang on. All right. So my principal doesn't have any staff. There's usually, when you go in as the principal, or it may need to go to your district admin to see the button that opens it back up.
But it can occur. It just may be, if it's not at the principal level, it may need to be.
It may be the district. Check with your district lead, and if not, then it probably needs to come up.
Okay.
There should be a way to open it back up. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Okay, and someone else commented that they've had that happen for a staff member, and the HR director was able to open it back up. Wonderful.
That's why I was thinking the district lead had to do that.
Am I missing any questions?
No, but we are getting some responses about being able to add the mentor, and I'm replying thank you to those so that they'll show up in the chat bar. But looking under the professional development plan is where the mentor, accessing the mentor will be located.
Thank you.
Thank you, our participants.
Okay. Yep, they're in the system every day. They know where everything is. All right. All right. So you have to change it to the professional development plan. Okay.
So here is a screenshot of our NCEES Wiki, including a link to the NCEES Wiki. I just want to point out, over to the left side, you have webinars and videos. There you have upcoming webinars and archived webinars, and down below you have 2017-18 webinars, and that's where you'll be able to find this recorded webinar, any resources and links that we used, and a copy of a PDF copy of the presentation.
Okay.
Here we have upcoming webinars, and there is a live link there to the upcoming webinars, and I just showed you on the NCEES Wiki. But on 9/19, we'll be offering a NCEES webinar for teacher and support staff beginning of the year process. Later on in the month, we'll take a look at teacher leadership standards, and that's with Robert Sachs. And I highly recommend, if you have teacher leaders in your school, please advise them to attend this very informative and engaging webinar by Robert Sachs. On 10/3, digital learning competencies and North Carolina competencies working together. On the 10th of October, NCEES webinar, the North Carolina Professional Teaching Standard 1. And on 10/17, NCEES webinar, North Carolina School Executive Standard 1.
Okay. And then this slide is our remedy support desk. So you should have a designated person in your district that is able to put in any issues that you have with the system. And this is where it would go to. They ask that you first put it in through the link that goes to the web portal. Then if it's an urgent matter, please do follow it up with a call to the support desk. Of course, you can call the support desk anytime. They'll be glad to help you. But we do ask that if you're putting in a ticket, please put it in first. And then if it's urgent, call. Again, when you put those tickets in, you need to answer the 4 W's. Who, what, when, and where. Who's in the application? What were you doing when the problem happened? When did it occur, and where? We do ask that when you're putting in staff, either use their name name or their UID. Generally, I would just put the UID in because that's what we're going to look up. If you don't know how to use the portal, there's a video link here, and then there's the PowerPoint that goes along with that video on using the Remedy portal. And I think that's the last slide. So I hope
We
you
also,
guys...
yes, we encourage you to use this recorded webinar and these resources that we've provided in any way to support you and your staff or to share with your colleagues in your district or charter. And again, you have our contact information to follow up with us if we can be of additional support for you. So yeah. I think that wraps up our webinar. Cammie, is that correct?
It is. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you
we'll
guys
stay on the line just a couple of minutes and let everybody log out. But if there's some lingering questions, we'll be here for a few minutes to answer those.
Yep. So you still have time to get your questions in. So I want to say I really appreciate all those questions. That's helping me as well to learn the system a little bit better, and I hope we're helping you learn it a little bit better.
And we will have a follow-up email that goes out, and we'll try to address a couple that we were not able to answer today.
Had a good crowd out today.
Mm-hmm.
Almost 150. All right. Does anybody see any new questions?
I have not seen any new ones come in, but I am still working on a response about certificates. So I need just a few more minutes to finish that response.
Okay. So it looks like we do have a question. If you're a first-time admin, your first screen showed that we have to put in our selected teachers we are observing. The very first screen where we assigned our staff, you do have to put on your teachers who is their observer, who is their evaluator or their mentor. You do have to assign those rights to the person that will handle that activity. And so, Laura, if you have any need additional help with that, please do email me or put in a Remedy ticket. She's observing. And Laura, that's if you want to use the system to complete those observations. Kim, I don't know who's required to do those and or can you just do paper observations?
Will you say that again?
So when she was asking, she's going to be observing teachers. She's a first-time admin.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what admin type of job, but does she need to have her selected teachers that she's observing under her? if she's using the NCEES system, she does, right?
Yes. Yes, and that would, the local T&L person would assign her rights, and then, or her principal would assign the rights if she's working as an assistant principal, first-time admin.
Well, Laura, let us know if that answer helps.
Mandy, have we responded to all the questions?
How can we delete and add names to my staff? I think is the last one that we have not answered.
Delete and add names. So the My Staff, it's my understanding, shows up from what is in UID. So they should,
That's sent from the local LEAs, right, on the spreadsheet?
that was my
So that's
understanding.
predetermined. That would have to change at the LEA level.
Yeah.
Once they're assigned to you, then you can make changes within their process.
Right. So if you've been assigned to a certain staff member, you don't need under you anymore, then those rights would just need to be changed. And that would be the T&L lead over you.
Last check, is that the last question?
Yes.
I'd like to thank everyone for joining the webinar today, and I hope you have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all have a great evening too.